A curse won't allow this doctor to find love, but he is going to do anything he can to win the heart of the woman he loves. We'll see what happens next in today's recap of the film Good Luck Chuck. Make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this one. Now, let's get on with the video. The film starts in 1985 when Charlie and his best friend Stuart are playing a game at his birthday party. The game allows them to have some private time with girls in a closet, and Charlie wants to have his first kiss. However, he ends up picking a weird girl named Anisha, who is too passionate. She tells Charlie that she loves him and tries to get intimate with him, but Charlie gets scared and tells her to stay away. This embarrasses Anisha, and she puts a curse on Charlie, claiming that every girl he dates will dump him and find the love of her life with some other man. Fast forward to the present. Charlie is now a dentist and he's having a good time at the beach with his girlfriend, but things go south when he fails to say "I love you" to her and she breaks up with him. He shares this news with Stuart, who also works in the same hospital as Charlie, where he is a surgeon. They're talking about going to the wedding of one of Charlie's ex-girlfriends. At the wedding, the bride even calls Charlie her lucky charm because he led her to find her husband. Charlie is thinking about this lucky charm thing when he sees Cam, who bumps into a waiter. Charlie helps her and she sits down next to him. They start talking about their jobs, and Charlie even gives Cam his business card. Just then, Cam causes another accident and ruins Charlie's suit, and he has to do his best to clean it up. The next day, Charlie goes to his clinic to find many women from the wedding waiting to meet him. Charlie finds this strange and he shares this with Stuart while they're taking a walk. This is when they come across the girl who dumped Charlie. It turns out that she is getting married as well. Things get even weirder when Charlie gets home to find a lot of voicemails from girls who really want to go out with him. That weekend, Cam is at her job at the aquarium. She loves penguins and she's feeding them when she gets into an argument with her brother. While distracted, she loses her footing and slides down the slope. She eventually falls into the water after hitting her head. Meanwhile, Charlie is going out with this girl who just wants to sleep with him. She tells him that there's a rumor that Charlie is a lucky charm and whoever sleeps with him finds the love of their life. Charlie is still processing this information when he gets a call from Cam, who needs him to look at her chipped tooth. So they meet at Charlie's clinic that night where he fixes her tooth. Even there, Cam is causing all sorts of chaos, but Charlie adores her and asks her out. Cam, however, rejects this proposal and leaves. Later on, Charlie is leaving his clinic when Cam comes up to the elevator and asks him to jump her car. Charlie's happy to help her, but he gets electrocuted while helping Cam because once again she causes chaos. She even locks her car and Charlie has to drive her to her home to get the spare keys. This is when Cam tells him how she always causes weird accidents and she has broken multiple bones in the process. After she gets the spare keys from her house, Charlie drives her back to her car where he once again asks her out. But Cam tells him that she just doesn't want to get into a relationship at this time in her life. Charlie is disappointed, and he gets back home to find his receptionist sitting on his couch. She explains that she needs to use his lucky charm to find a husband. Apparently, there's a website that is telling everyone about Charlie's magical powers. Charlie cares about his assistant, so he decides to help her by sleeping with her. He shares all of this with Stuart the next day, and Stuart tells him to think of his lucky charm as a blessing because he can now get laid with as many girls as he wants and none of them would pressure him to say "I love you." This time, Charlie actually agrees with Stuart's advice. So in the next few weeks, he goes out with any girl who approaches him. Many of these girls find husbands immediately after dating Charlie, but for Charlie, all of this is soul-crushing. He tells Stuart that this kind of dating doesn't give him any satisfaction. Just then, he sees some penguins on the television, and they remind him of Cam. So he insistently goes to the aquarium to see Cam. Charlie asks her out once again, and she asks him why he likes her. Charlie tells her that she is like penguins, who are clumsy and awkward, but they are still one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. Cam loves the sentiment and agrees to give him a chance. She even tells him about her dream of meeting Peter, who is a leading penguin expert. A few days later, they go on their first date, and things are going great until Cam hits her head on a pole. But Charlie isn't bothered by it and instead kisses her, and the evening gets even better. He tells Stuart that he has fallen head over heels for Cam and he truly feels blessed. On his next date with Charlie, Charlie tells Cam about the whole charm thing and she convinces him that it's just nonsense and he shouldn't believe in this stuff. Things are looking up for Charlie, who even gets invited to Cam's house, and this time it looks like Cam really wants to stay the night. But while she's getting ready for bed, Charlie receives a call from Stuart, who tells him that the charm is real. He claims that all of the girls Charlie slept with ended up married. He tells Charlie to not make love to Cam or she will leave him too. Charlie is beyond mad after hearing this. He doesn't want to leave Cam like that, but he can't risk losing her, so he leaves after making some excuse. The next day, Stuart shares his plan with Charlie to see if his curse really works. He asks Charlie to go out with this really overweight girl, Eleanor, and if she finds a husband, then it will be certain that Charlie's charm thing is real. Charlie doesn't want to go out with this woman, but he has no choice, so he takes Eleanor out for an expensive dinner and ends up sleeping with her. After this, he waits to see if Eleanor finds love or not. He also decides to not see Cam while he waits. So he tells Cam that he's sick, and until he gets better, they can talk on the phone. This is not ideal, but Charlie is over the moon even by talking to her on the phone. However, he's worried because no one has asked Eleanor out even after 2 weeks. So he asks Stuart to go on a date with her, and if they don't get married, then Charlie will know that the charm thing is fake. Stuart is against this idea, but he can't deny his best friend's request, so he asks her out. A few days later, Charlie is talking to Cam and she is asking him to come over. She's even sending him some intimate pictures, and Charlie is barely stopping himself. This is when he gets a call from Stuart, who says that he went out with Eleanor and he doesn't want to get married to her, so the charm is fake. Charlie is ecstatic after hearing this and goes straight to Cam's place, where they make love like animals. The next morning, Charlie is up early and he goes to make breakfast for Cam. This is when he sees Eleanor on the news. Apparently, she found a lover and she's getting married. Charlie is beyond mad and calls Stuart, who admits he never went out with Eleanor. At this point, Charlie knows that the curse really works and he's certain that he'll lose Cam soon. So he decides to become the perfect boyfriend and makes this ridiculous breakfast for her. He is calling her at work and things get out of hand when Cam finds all these flowers and balloons at her workplace. Charlie even surprises her in a penguin costume. Cam tells him not to disturb her while she's working. But things get worse when she finds Charlie waiting for her in her decorated car. She tells him that she knows why he's doing it and that this weird behavior is making her life worse. She tells him to leave her alone for a while, but Charlie is afraid of losing her. Finally, Stuart tells him to chill out. He tells Charlie that if Cam doesn't want him, he should let her go. But Charlie loves her, and in his desperation, he goes to her workplace with a wedding ring. This is when he spots her talking to a guy, and he loses it. He gets into a fight with a guy and also gets inside the penguin enclosure to convince Cam to stay with him. There he falls into the water and the penguins viciously attack him. When he finally calms down, Cam tells him that she can't bear this anymore, and just like that, she breaks up with him. Charlie is heartbroken, and he's sitting outside his clinic where his assistant is consoling him. Suddenly, he sees a spinning bottle and remembers Anisha's curse. He runs to Stuart's place to ask him to find Anisha's address. The next day, they drive to her house, and Charlie is ready to do whatever it takes to remove the curse. He knocks on the door and meets Anisha and her daughter. Anisha doesn't recognize him, and he reminds her about the curse. She assures him that she was just lying about cursing Charlie because she was embarrassed. She also tells him that sometimes we have to let go of the people we love to find our real soulmate, just like she forgot about Charlie to find her husband. This advice sticks with Charlie, and he decides to get out of Cam's life. But he wants to make her happy, so he sets a meeting for her with Peter, and Cam is amazed to meet her idol. She even takes him to the aquarium, and this is when Charlie lets her go. For the next few weeks, he spends his time playing online games, but it all changes when Stuart visits him with his fiancée, who is the same girl that Charlie dated some time ago. Stuart tells Charlie that Cam is leaving for Antarctica with Peter that afternoon, and he asks Charlie to give his love one more chance. Stuart's remarks give Charlie the push he needs to go after Cam, so he drives to the airport immediately. He finds out that 2 flights are leaving for Antarctica, and he spends $17,000 to buy tickets for both because he needs to search for Cam. He eventually finds her on one of the flights, and this is when he finds out that Peter is married, and Cam is only going to Antarctica for a week. He still lets her know how he feels, and this time he proposes to her. He has to leave before the plane takes off, but Cam stops him to give him a kiss and her answer. It turns out that Anisha really did curse Charlie, but after his visit, she removed it, and so he finally found happiness. A year later, he is visiting Antarctica with Cam, where they witness the northern lights together. The film ends with them kissing while they're surrounded by penguins.